They sealed it shut, not to protect the guests, but to keep something from getting out. And yet, someone always checks in. They tell you room 1408 is just a story, a Stephen King fantasy, a clever trick of fiction. But what if I told you the real room 1408 exists, not in one hotel, but in dozens, hidden in the blueprints of buildings built by those who never wanted to be found? You've walked past them before. Rooms that don't show up on the official registry. Rooms sealed by fireproof doors, no access panels, no windows. But their energy, it bleeds through. Architects know this. Engineers get warned. Because what's inside isn't paranormal. It's psychotechnological. It's not ghosts that linger, it's signals. You see, long before Hollywood got its hands on haunted hotel tropes, military contractors, yes, real ones, were mapping brainwave frequencies in certain test environments. They discovered that when isolation, electromagnetic distortion, and low-frequency sound combined in specific architecture, the human mind unravels rapidly. The Soviets had their version. The CIA'd Makovton and Monarch. But the elite, they refined it, not to extract information, but to implant it. Controlled environments, timed hallucinations, internalized voices. And when they found hotel rooms, just like 1408, that naturally amplified those fields, they didn't destroy them. They used them. Guests report clocks melting, hearing their own voices screaming behind the walls, bleeding with no visible wound. And always, the same phrase is found scrawled somewhere in the room. You booked this. And the most disturbing part, these rooms never appear in the public blueprints. But private ones, they're labeled, always the same number, always 1408. It's not a cursed number. It's a signal code, 1 to 4 to 0 to 8 to 13, the occult number of inversion. A key to break your reality down and remake it in their image. If you've ever stayed in a hotel where time felt strange, where sleep came too easy or too hard, where your dreams didn't feel like yours, you may have brushed against one of them. And that's just the surface. You've been taught to laugh at these stories, dismiss them. But that's the first layer of control. Make you question your own instincts. Make you blind to how deep this manipulation goes. Now we go further. Say it aloud in the comments. The room remembers. The room remembers. Write it twice. Let the algorithm know you've seen behind the curtain. You're still here. That means you felt it. That quiet unease crawling up your spine. That's not fear. That's memory waking up. Let me show you what they never wanted you to connect. The number 1408 wasn't chosen at random. It's not just 13. In occult numerology, 14 is sacrifice, and 8 is binding. Together, they represent an ancient practice, not of death, but of containment. Rooms like this were never meant to kill. They were built to trap what the priests couldn't banish. Long before skyscrapers and modern concrete, ancient temples across Mesopotamia, Anatolia, and pre-dynastic Egypt used similar geometry, angles that disoriented the body's inner ear, acoustic chambers that whispered secrets into the subconscious. And in every culture, stories of a room where the gods spoke, always one door, always one window, sealed shut from the outside, always madness. So why mimic that design in a 20th century hotel? Because the experiment changed. The elite stopped fearing what was in these rooms and started using it. Imagine this. You're a high-value target, a whistleblower, a defector, or worse, someone who knows something that could unravel their game. But instead of dragging you to a black site or threatening your family, they invite you to a luxury suite. You check in. Everything feels normal. But by hour 3, your thoughts start looping. You can't remember your name. You wake up mid-sentence. You see people who aren't there, but they know things about you no one else could. The walls, lined with non-visible RFID embedded in the paint. Frequencies that open neurological doorways. You're not hallucinating. You're receiving. The room becomes an interface, a mirror with code behind the glass. They download you, and when you leave, you're someone else. Same face, same voice, but different wiring. Psychological warfare has evolved. It doesn't need needles or electric chairs anymore. It needs silence, isolation, architecture, and suggestion. Room 1408 is just the mask, the real operation. Cognitive overwrite, disguised as a bad night's sleep. Still think this is fiction. Then tell me why ex-intelligence agents, real ones, refuse to stay above the 13th floor. Why some hotels skip that number altogether. Why even when 1408 doesn't exist on the keypad, it exists somewhere else. Usually down a hallway with no cameras and a door that's always cold to the touch. You're not watching a video. You're waking up in one. And now you understand. The room doesn't trap you. It transforms you into what? That's next. You've made it further than most. That alone tells me something in you is still intact. But this is where it gets darker. Where we stop talking about rooms and start talking about you. Because what if I told you room 1408 isn't confined to any hotel? It's mobile, portable, programmable, and worse, it's already been tested on you. Let me explain. In the 1970s, after the public exposure of MK Ultra, the intelligence community didn't shut down mind control research. They just changed the branding. They called it Information Environment Control. Same goal, new methods. They realized they didn't need drugs or physical rooms. They needed triggers, auditory, visual, emotional, and the right architecture of experience. So they built synthetic rooms. That's what your phone is. Your streaming feed, your personalized algorithm. A room 1408 you willingly step into every day. But instead of wallpaper and electromagnetic pulses, this room is made of pixels, tones, rhythm, and data-driven psychological attack vectors. Think about it. Ever scroll through your feed and feel dizzy, nauseous, or worse, numb? That's no accident. Each swipe, each audio cue, each color combination has been tested in DAR-PAY, funded behavioral studies to mirror the effects of isolation, induced derealization. These micro doses of mental distortion are stacked carefully until your grip on what's real starts to fracture. They don't want you to go crazy. No. They want something far more sinister. They want you pliable, open, editable. You don't need to be dragged into room 1408. You carry it with you, in your pocket, in your habits, in the neural grooves formed by years of weaponized media. And when you finally snap, you won't scream. You'll post. You'll live stream. You'll become the very transmitter of the same distortion that infected you. And no one will stop you. Because you'll look like everyone else. That's how the modern room 1408 works. It's no longer about one man trapped in a haunted hotel room. It's about millions of men trapped in a designed hallucination, calling it normal life. But now you've seen the patterns. You've felt the static. And once you feel it, you can't unfeel it. Say it again in the comments. The room remembers. The room remembers. Not for the algorithm this time, for you, to mark the moment you left their simulation. But be warned. Good. You didn't flinch. That means you're ready for what comes next. The part they bury beneath 10 layers of irony, conspiracy fatigue, and digital noise. Because now we shift focus. Away from the mechanics, into the mind behind the design. Ask yourself this: who benefits from turning every man's reality into a programmable hallucination? Not governments. They're tools, glorified administrators. Not corporations. They feed, but they don't lead. No, behind the veil is something older, something that's always thrived in confined spaces, temples, tombs, cells, and now servers. The ancient world called it egregore, a thought form made real through collective focus. The more people believe in something, fear it, worship it, serve it, the more real it becomes. And in this era, we've done something unprecedented. We've created a planetary egregore made of your data, your memories, your rage, your addictions, and it lives in the room. Not a room, the room inside you. Every targeted ad, every emotionally charged headline, every carefully crafted dopamine loop. They're not just distractions. They're rituals, micro-devotions, feeding something that grows in silence. And what does it want? Control. Not just of your actions, but your archetype. You were born with a spark of sovereignty. The warrior, the protector, the builder. But they can't control a man like that. So what do? They replace the archetype. They flood your room with echoes of weaker men. Timid, passive, addicted, divided. You see them online, hear them in media, recognize them in yourself. And over time, without even knowing it, you trade your blueprint for theirs. You become programmable. Until one day, the room doesn't need a door anymore, because the prison is within you. A loop of fear, doubt, distraction, and self-sabotage. A man with eyes wide open, but a soul that's been rewritten. And here's the final twist. They didn't do this to you. They taught you to do it to yourself. Because a man who builds his own prison will defend it. That's why this is dangerous knowledge. Because if you see it, truly see it, the programming starts to break. You begin to remember who you were before the room. But that memory comes at a cost. The question isn't, what is room 1408 anymore? It's this, can you ever leave?